Hi, good evening, and welcome to our live session. Today's topic is quite interesting because we're going to talk about how you can prepare for the IELTS completely on your own. എങ്ങനെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സ്വയം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സ്വന്തമായി IELTSന് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാം എന്നതാണ് ഈ 1 hourന്റെ ലൈവ് സെഷൻ. I know you're all excited because you love to know how you can do all of it by yourself. Well, that does not mean if you're currently enrolled in an institute or a training center, you should drop out. No. നിങ്ങൾ ഏത് ട്രെയിനിങ് സെൻറ്ററിലാണെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് ഈ ലൈവിൽ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്ന ടിപ്സും ലെസൺ പ്ലാൻസും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സ്ട്രാറ്റജി യു ക്യാൻ അപ്ലൈ ഇറ്റ് ഈവൻ ഇഫ് യു ആർ എൻറോൾഡ് വിത്ത് എ ട്രെയിനർ ഓർ ആൻ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ട്. ഓക്കെ, സോ let's see who's watching us from the different parts of the world. I can see a lot of good evenings coming in and it's so nice to see you guys live. Anil Mohan says good evening. I have Anamika Anu saying good evening. And Akshay Parke says good evening. Hi Akshay. Anaya David says good evening. Shama says good evening. AJ Jacob says hello. Wow, that's nice. I think I've got a good mix of males and females watching our live session, which is interesting. So Shamlal has added a good evening. Well, it is indeed a great evening. And at this part of the world that I am right now in, it's raining heavily. It's real heavy out there. And I would like to know how the climate is where you're watching from. ഇപ്പം നിങ്ങൾ ഈ ഒരു ലൈവ് സെഷൻ കാണുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ് പുറത്ത് നടക്കുന്ന ക്ലൈമാറ്റിക് കണ്ടീഷൻസ്? ഇവിടെ ഞാൻ അനുഭവിക്കുന്ന പോലെ ഹെവി റെയിൻസ് ആണോ, അതോ ഇറ്റ്സ് എ നോർമൽ മേ ബി എ വാം ഈവനിങ് ആണോ, ഒരു ക്ലൗഡി ഈവനിങ് ആണോ? വാട്ട് ഇസ് ഇറ്റ്? I would just be very curious to know and learn from each of you. Srija Ranjit says good evening, and I have RV Healthaker. Hello, hi. Great. So do share what the climate like is outside and from wherever you're watching. Is it really a nice, warm, pleasant climate, or is it cloudy? Is it raining heavily, or whether it's just any other casual evening? So self-preparing for the IELTS. Adana innathe nammade topic. Now, if you guys have any questions about how you can probably prepare, you can just drop in your question now. AJ Jacob adds, it's raining in Kollam as well, heavy rain. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so I think a major part of India, at least Kerala as far as I know, is experiencing rains. Good evening from Anit Kuryakos, and Lakshmi Nair says hi. Ashad Khurshid says hi. Well, so how do you self-prepare for the IELTS? Now, number one, if you're planning to prepare and train yourself, ഒറ്റക്കാണ് സ്വന്തമായിട്ടാണ് IELTSന് നിങ്ങൾ പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നെങ്കിൽ ഫസ്റ്റ് തിങ് നിങ്ങൾ ഉറപ്പ് വരുത്തേണ്ടത് is that you have at least 3 to 4 weeks ahead of you. Okay? So make sure you have at least 3 to 4 days ahead. Oh, I have Joseph Stanley who's added it's drizzling in Kottayam. Nice. Santosh Babu says hi. Ashad Khurshid says, how are you? I'm doing great, Ashad. Thanks for asking. I hope you're doing well as well, great as well. Simi says hello. Ramya says good evening. Oh, that's nice. Okay. So, first, step number 1, if you're preparing for the IELTS completely on your own, make sure you have at least 3 to 4 weeks ahead of your test date. Now, if that is the case, you're good to go. And ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് ഈ ലൈവിൽ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്ന എല്ലാ ടിപ്സും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി യൂസ്ഫുൾ ആയിരിക്കും. പക്ഷേ if you're somebody who has just 1 week, or if you know in the Saturday is your exam and you're looking out for tips, some of it of course will help you, but I'm not sure if the entire package will fit into your time schedule. Okay, so let's see. So the first requirement is ഒരു 3 to 4 weeks നിങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിൽ എന്തായാലും ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കണം. Okay? So if you're planning to book an exam date for August, and this would be the right time to start your preparation. So do let me know if you've taken an exam date for the IELTS. You can just type in when is the exam date and probably which center you have booked your exam for. നിങ്ങൾ ബുക്ക് ചെയ്ത എക്സാം ഡേറ്റും എക്സാം സെൻറ്ററും നിങ്ങളൊന്ന് ഇതിൽ മെൻഷൻ ചെയ്യുക, so that I get an idea of how much time each of you have for preparing for the IELTS, for your self-preparation. Well, if you're preparing completely on your own, you need to be fully determined. That's a requirement. അപ്പം സ്ട്രോങ് ഡിറ്റർമിനേഷൻ ഉള്ള ഒരാൾക്കാണ് സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് IELTSന് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്ത് attend ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന exam, because IELTS is a highly competitive language test and it's an international exam that happens everywhere across the world. Your IELTS test happens 4 times a month, so you have dates on every week, actually weekend mostly, which is a Saturday. So most of the test dates fall on a Saturday. You might have a test date on a Thursday as well. So ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് IELTSന്റെ ടെസ്റ്റ് ഡേറ്റ്സ് സെറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. This is if it is a regular IELTS that you are attending. Now if you are planning for taking a computer based IELTS, ഒരു computer based IELTS ടെസ്റ്റ് ആണ് നിങ്ങൾ പ്ലാൻ ചെയ്യുന്നതെങ്കിൽ, you will have a date almost every day, but the center is again highly limited. So Anand Kumar Batina says, Madam, my name is Anand Kumar from Vijayawada. My humble request, my son is studying MBBS 3rd year at Siddhartha Medical College. Help me further for future education. No problem, Ananda Kumar. What you can do is, if your son is studying for MBBS, we can help him, probably take up a course in a foreign country if he's interested. There are excellent loans available based on each state government and also otherwise in banks. We'll be able to suggest some for you and also we'll be able to give you good course options for your son. Now, Srija Ranjit add ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് 16th July in Kuwait. Okay, Srija. So 16th July. Oh, alright. So you have just a couple of weeks ahead of you. Santosh Babu says not booked yet, probably the first week of next month. That's interesting. So book ചെയ്തല്ലേ എക്സാമിന് പ്ലാൻ ചെയ്യുന്ന കുറച്ച് candidates have definitely joined us, and I'm sure by the end of the session, this 1-hour session, you will have great takeaways that will help you in your preparation. So I already told you what your first requirement is. Requirement number 1 is ensure that you have 3 to 4 weeks ahead of you. Okay, so what do you do on day 1? നിങ്ങൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഡേ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് is a self-assessment. Now, IELTS is an exam that happens across the 4 modules. You have listening, reading, writing and speaking. So, നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ട first step എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ to assess your abilities in the 4 skill. So, what you need to do is take up any accepted, authorized, official test. You can easily find it online. If you go to the British Council website or the IDP website, you can easily download test materials, practice tests. So, step number 1 is self-assessment. നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു test, that is 1 listening test, 1 reading test and a writing test. So, make sure you download these 3 question papers, okay? And let me tell you roughly how much time you'll need to keep aside for your self-evaluation. Now, the listening test is a 30-minute exam, okay? And the audio will play for roughly 30 minutes. Adana shesham, you also have a 10 minutes additional time to move or transfer all the answers that you have jotted down on the question booklet onto the answer sheet. So 30 plus 10 is your listening time. You have a reading exam which is for 1 hour and you have a writing exam for another 1 hour. So ningal oru 2.5 to 3 hours. So if you have 3 hours that you can keep aside, I would say that's brilliant, and that should be your step number 1, self-assessment. So maybe on a Sunday avam or Saturday avam, maybe you've taken a break from work, maybe you're working online and you have some 2 to 3 hours that you can probably spend on the self-assessment. അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ definitely first download 1 set of question paper for listening, reading and writing. Okay, now remember there is a change that has happened recently. IELTS in the formatil ചെറിയൊരു മാറ്റം വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും അറിഞ്ഞിരുന്നോ what the change is? Have you all known what the change is in the IELTS exam? There has been a change and I'm just curious to find out if you're all aware of that change. something that is different and is no longer the same as it used to happen a few years ago. What is a change? I think Santosh said he's planning for a date for the first week of next month. I did have Srija saying 16 July. But Srija, endana change in the IELTS exam? Are you aware of it? What is the change? So let's just wait for responses. I'm just curious to know how many of you are updated with the changes happening in the IELTS test. So there is a change in the format. Other clue I got. The clue is the change is happening in the format of the test. So if you're aware of what the change is, do type it out as comment so that I can read out your lovely names along with the responses. In the IRICM change, what do you think is the change that has happened? As it really happened from the 25th of June for all of the students or candidates who've attended the exam from 25th. Had this change, and in future too this change will remain as long as they do not change it again. So Santosh Babu added the listening, reading, writing. Okay, Ramya Elsa Philip says writing is in first stage. Okay, Sharu Abraham Joseph, the sequence of module delivery. Oh, that's a brilliant response. Sharu, actually sequence of Mari in the Varna, but you haven't said what the change is. Jesna Jess says writing, reading, listening. Srija Ranjit says writing is first, right? Okay, so she's still confused. I'm sorry if I've confused you. This is not for a confusion, but to ensure that you're all clear. There is a change, like Sharu has said, there is a change in the sequence of module delivery. So I want all of you to be fully aware of what that change is. See, no surprises on the test day. Ningal test day you are expecting something because all the past videos that you've seen on YouTube, on Facebook say something, but on the test day you're going to experience something different. Akshaya says, hi, good evening. Well, the change that has happened is, of course, in the sequence or the order in which the exam is delivered. So earlier, okay, up till 25th of June or an exam date before that, the exam was conducted in this order, which is listening first, followed by reading, and then the writing test. So that's why we popularly call it as LRW. We've been calling it that way for so very long. Pakshe, any mudalilla ella exam formatum, we will begin with the writing test first. So you're going to attend the writing test, followed by the reading, and the third test will be the listening test. So that is a big change that you should be aware of. Because I'm sure, you might think listening is not very difficult. So I can start off a little relaxed so that I get the feel of the exam, and by the time I reach the writing module, I'll be a little more serious. No, the writing module is the test. So in the first 1 hour, you are going to attend the writing task, and in the writing task, there will be 2 questions. You have a task 1 and a task 2. 1 is definitely an essay writing. So you have to prepare for an essay question. Now, essay writing a requirement is a word count. Now, the minimum requirement for your essay to be considered complete is 250 words. So, when you're practicing or when you're taking your first assessment test, make sure you try writing an essay close to 250 words. Okay? So, ningal self-assess cheyyumbalum, try attending the exam in the same order, which is writing, followed by reading, and then the listening test. So in your first 1 hour, I want you to try and solve the writing test that you have downloaded. You have 2 questions, task 1 and task 2. Task 1, which will be writing a report. Now you will be given a diagram. Ningalku a graph or a table or a pie chart. Angane endengilum oru diagram undav. Aa diagram base cheyidittu you will have to write a report. Now the requirement of the report writing is 150 words. Okay, so in 20 minutes you have to complete the report writing. That is a requirement. So you just have around 20 minutes to complete a report, and in the next 40 minutes you need to try and complete your essay writing. So when you're self-evaluating, make sure you're very strict with your timing. Okay, that is, let's say, also another thing I want all of you to keep in mind is, നിങ്ങളുടെ മൊബൈൽ ഫോൺസ്, like, do not keep your mobile phones near you when you're assessing yourself. Do not have any distractions. If you're at home, please tell your parents, please tell your siblings that you need 3 hours time at a stretch. No disturbances. Lock your room. Okay, നിങ്ങൾ maybe ഫ്രണ്ട്സിൻ്റെ കൂടെയാണ്, if you're trying to self-assess with a group of friends, make sure all of you sit in separate spaces, all of you have your your stationery items with you, so that you'll not have to run around or share things and distract each other. So നിങ്ങളുടെ first 1 hour you have to try and complete task 1 and task 2. A major requirement at this stage is to ensure that you have completed the word requirement. അപ്പം 150 words for task 1 and 250 words for task 2. Okay? So self-preparation, self-assessment are the first step, because you need to know where you stand, what your level is currently, because only according to that level can you prepare for the test. Okay, so I hope you've understood with how you need to go about with self-assessment of the first test. Writing complete the 1 hour you have completed both task 1 and task 2. Next, take hold of the reading question paper. Now, reading answer cheyidane munne try and write down question numbers 1 to 40 on a paper. Okay, you write down 1 2 3 4 5 up to 40, so you have space to write down the answers. So make sure you keep a paper separate with you and strictly time yourself for 1 hour. Now, in the reading paper, which you're going to try and self-assess, you will have 3 passages to solve. Passage 1, passage 2 and passage 3. Each passage, let's say passage 1 will have questions from 1 to 13 and passage 2 will have questions from 14 and then passage 3. So you have to answer a total of 40 questions. 40 questions ആണ് നിങ്ങൾ ആൻസർ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ മേക്ക് ഷുവർ നിങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിൽ ഒരു സെപ്പറേറ്റ് പേപ്പർ ഉണ്ട്. ആ പേപ്പറിൽ 1 to 40 നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതി വെക്കണം. ബിക്കോസ് നിങ്ങൾ സോൾവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന അതേ ടൈമിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ആൻസേഴ്സ് അതിലേക്ക് കോപ്പി ചെയ്യുക. റിമെമ്പർ, ഇൻ ദ റീഡിംഗ് ടെസ്റ്റ് യു ആർ നോട്ട് ഗിവൻ എനി അഡീഷണൽ മിനിറ്റ്സ് ടു ട്രാൻസ്ഫർ യുവർ ആൻസർ, വിച്ച് മീൻസ് as you find the answer for each question, you need to copy it down onto the answer sheet. Okay? So 1 hour, that is 60 minutes for your reading test. So practice doing your reading. Soon after your reading test, without taking a break. Okay? Now, even if you feel, because the first time or 3 hours continuously you're finding it really difficult to sit for 3 hours at a stretch, take a quick short break before you do your listening test. Now, in the listening test, when you're practicing completely on your own, make sure you do not fidget or control the audio clip. Now, the audio that is given along with the test that you've downloaded, you have to play it. The moment you play it, you cannot stop, you cannot control it, you cannot pause it, you cannot rewind it, you cannot forward it. Let it go. Okay, let it play on its own. Look at your question paper. Make sure you have another answer sheet. Or a white paper, make sure you write numbers from 1 to 40 and use the answer sheet later. Now, as you listen to the audio clip, I want all of you to try out solving your listening answer sheet. Write down in the question paper itself answers 1 to 40. Now, after 30 minutes, the audio tape stops because the 4 sections are completed. You have 4 sections in your listening. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3 and Section 4. And each section will have around 10 questions. Okay? So, നിങ്ങൾ എന്താ ചെയ്തത്? Listening complete ചെയ്തു, and after 30 minutes, take 10 minutes time to shift all the answers from the question booklet onto the answer sheet. So now you're done with your first step of preparation, that is taking the Ielts test to get an idea, to assess yourself and to find out how you've done. Now, if you're a first timer, നിങ്ങൾ ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണ് IELTS ചെയ്യുന്നതെങ്കിൽ, I'm sure you wouldn't have completed most of the questions, which is okay, it's very natural. Now, this first step is for you to understand what is your strength, what is your current level of proficiency, how much you need to work, and what is IELTS. Okay, അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഫീൽ കിട്ടാനാണ് ഈ ഒരു അസസ്മെൻറ്റ് ടെസ്റ്റ്. So, step number 1 is self-assessment. Now, since you've completed the 3 tests in 3 hours time, 2.5 to 3 hours time, it's time for you to check the answers. Of course, For writing, it is not very easy for you to check how well you have written. പക്ഷേ listening and reading, there will be an answer key that you get. So try and mark all your answers. Remember, spellings are important. So if your answer is correct but the spelling is wrong, make sure you mark it wrong. Okay? So നിങ്ങൾ evaluate ചെയ്തിട്ട് listening and reading what score you have got out of 40. Make a note of it. എന്തൊക്കെയായിരുന്നു ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ടീസ് നിങ്ങൾ ഈ ഒരു മോക്ക് ടെസ്റ്റ് അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്യുമ്പം സെൽഫ് അസസ് ചെയ്യാൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങളെ ഇവാലുവേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്ത ഈ ടെസ്റ്റ് നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുമ്പം നേരിട്ട പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ എന്താണ്? ഐ മീൻ വാട്ട് ഡിഡ് യു ഫേസ്? വർ ദേർ എനി ചാലഞ്ചസ്? ചിലപ്പോൾ റൈറ്റിങ്ങിൽ നിങ്ങൾ നേരിട്ട ഒരു വലിയ ചാലഞ്ച് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഗ്രാഫ് കണ്ടപ്പോൾ അതൊരു പൈച്ചാട്ടായിരുന്നു, പക്ഷെ ഒന്നും മനസ്സിലായില്ല. എന്ത് എഴുതണം, എവിടെ നിന്ന് തുടങ്ങണം, എങ്ങനെ 150 വേർഡ്സ് ആക്കണം എന്ന് ഒരു ഐഡിയ ഇല്ല. പക്ഷെ നിങ്ങൾ ട്രൈ ചെയ്ത് എന്തൊക്കെയോ എഴുതി വെച്ചു. പിന്നെ എസ്സേ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ കാണുമ്പോഴോ അതിലേറെ കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ. എന്താണ് ഫോക്കസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്? അതിലൊരു സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, ഒരു ടാസ്ക് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, പക്ഷെ നിങ്ങൾ അറ്റംപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തു, 250 വേർഡ്സ് കഷ്ടിച്ച് എഴുതി. നിങ്ങൾ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യം, നിങ്ങളുടെ ഹാൻഡ് റൈറ്റിംഗ് ലെജിബിൾ ആയിരുന്നോ? ഓക്കെ, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് എറേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ടോ? ഹാവ് യു മെയ്ഡ് എ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് മിസ്റ്റേക്സ്? And check if you have already written it in paragraphs. Paragraphing important ആണ്. പലതവണ നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് ഒരു പ്രീ ടെസ്റ്റ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു പ്രീ എക്സാം കൊടുക്കുമ്പം they don't write in paragraphs. Instead what they do is they write in a single short, in a single paragraph, one long paragraph, they write the entire essay. Now that is not accepted as per the Ielts format, which is something that I'll talk about a little later. പക്ഷേ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഫസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റെപ്പ് ഇപ്പോൾ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. നിങ്ങൾ assess ചെയ്തിരിക്കുകയാണ്. You have assessed yourself. You have an idea of where you stand. Did you feel writing was challenging? That simply means you need to prepare and focus on the writing module. Now maybe when you read the essay question you found it was easy, but because you're not very familiar with the format you found difficulty, but otherwise you've written well, which means you're good to go. You're almost halfway there for your writing test. Listening and reading, നിങ്ങൾ സ്കോർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ if you've got 30 above scores out of 40, that means it's an excellent score. Okay, but we need to make sure that we are consistent. That is, every time we practice or solve a listening and reading, we need to ensure that we will guaranteely get a score above 30. If that is the case, then again it means that you will most probably perform in the same way on the test day. പക്ഷേ നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്കോർ 20 to 25 ആ ഒരു റേഞ്ചിലാണെങ്കിൽ it definitely means that you need to prepare on the question format. Okay, you need to know what the different question types are. You also need to prepare on the strategy for each of these questions. So this is how you can evaluate yourself. Now when you are practicing for your listening or when you did your mock test, this first assessment test, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പല ഓഡിയോ conversations ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ടായി തോന്നിയേക്കാം. You might have not been able to follow the conversation. Maybe the accent was difficult or things like that. So make a note of what were your major difficulties. Maybe you knew the word but you don't know the spelling, and that simply means you need to work on your spellings. So your first assessment test will let you know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. It will give you a clear idea of where you stand. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ സ്റ്റെപ്പ് 1 കഴിഞ്ഞിരിക്കുകയാണ്. സെൽഫ് പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ്റെ സ്റ്റെപ്പ് 1 ആണ് സെൽഫ് അസസ്മെൻറ്റ്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ അസസ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞു, നമുക്ക് ഏകദേശം ഒരു ഐഡിയ കിട്ടി നമ്മൾ എത്രത്തോളം പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യണം. അപ്പോൾ ഏകദേശം 3 weeks ഉണ്ട്, കുഴപ്പമില്ല, എനിക്ക് ഇന്ന മോഡ്യൂളിലാണ് ഫോക്കസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. ചിലപ്പോൾ റീഡിങ് ഓക്കെയാണ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ലിസ്ണിങ് ഓക്കെയാണ്, ഞാൻ റൈറ്റിങ്ങിലാണ് ഫോക്കസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. സോ യുവ് ഗോട്ട് എൻ ഐഡിയ ഓഫ് ഹൗ ഗുഡ് യു ആർ വിത്ത് വിച്ച് മോഡ്യൂൾ ആൻഡ് വാട്ട് യുവർ ലെവൽ ഇസ്. So let's move on to step 2. Step 2 of self-preparation is ensuring that you keep aside at least 4 hours of study time every day. 3 to 4 hours. It need not be at a stretch. Or a stretch la. Let's say you're a working professional and maybe you get 1 hour in the morning and then you can take 3 hours in the evening. Or you get 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. Or you might get 2 hours in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon and another 2 hours in the evening. നിങ്ങൾ സ്പ്ലിറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അറ്റ്ലീസ്റ്റ് 3 to 4 hours every day നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടുന്ന സമയം എവിടെയാണ് എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാം. ബിക്കോസ് നൗ യു നീഡ് ടു സ്റ്റാർട്ട് preparing for the test. So make a note of these things. These are important things that you need to understand about the test. Number 1, what is the test format? Okay, now I already told you there are 4 modules, listening, reading, writing and speaking. പക്ഷേ ഓരോ മോഡ്യൂളിൻ്റെ ഫോമാറ്റ് എന്താണ്? അതായത് സ്പീക്കിംഗ് ടെസ്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ വാട്ട് റിയലി ഹാപ്പൻസ്. ഓക്കെ, ദർ ആർ 3 സെക്ഷൻസ്, പാർട്ട് 1, 2, 3. ഓരോ പാർട്ടിൽ എന്താണ് സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്? ഹൗ ലോങ് ഇസ് എ സ്പീക്കിംഗ് ടെസ്റ്റ്? ഇറ്റ്സ് റഫ്ലി 11 to 14 minutes. സോ ഡ്യൂറേഷൻ, ഫോമാറ്റ്, ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ്, ഓക്കെ, ഇതൊക്കെ കൃത്യമായി അറിഞ്ഞിരിക്കണം. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ റീഡിംഗ് ആയാലും റൈറ്റിംഗ് ആയാലും ലിസ്ണിംഗ് ആയാലും ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ്, ഫോമാറ്റ്, മേജർ ഡൂസ് ആൻഡ് ഡോൺട്സ്, ഇതൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ അറിഞ്ഞിരിക്കണം. സോ ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് 1 or 2 days you need to do thorough research on what the format and the question types are. Now if you're looking for a reference book that will really help you, we have an excellent book called as the Ielts Maestro. Now you can find our book on our website. ഈ ഒരു Ielts Maestroയിൽ 4 മോഡ്യൂൾസിൻ്റെയും ഡീറ്റെയിലിംഗ് കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി ഉണ്ട്. അതായത് എന്താണ് ലിസ്ണിംഗ്, അതിൽ വരുന്ന ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ്, റീഡിങ്ങിൻ്റെ ഫോമാറ്റ്, അതിൻ്റെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ് ആൻഡ് സ്ട്രാറ്റജി, റൈറ്റിംഗ് ടാസ്ക് 1, ടാസ്ക് 2, ഏതൊക്കെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ് ആണ്, ഏതൊക്കെ ഫോമാറ്റിൽ എഴുതണം, what is the strategy you can use, and for speaking. We also have lots of samples in this book. So this is definitely a wonder resource to help you prepare for the test completely on your own. If you're looking out for something more modern, more on the go, we have our own MedCity Ielts app. This is a wonderful, wonderful creation. I would say wonderful because you have over 50 hours of video lessons. Imagine getting more than 50 hours of video lessons at a very, very minimal price. It's just $501 for a year. ഓരോ മോഡ്യൂൾ, അതായത് ലിസ്ണിംഗ് മോഡ്യൂൾ, റീഡിംഗ്, റൈറ്റിംഗ്, സ്പീക്കിംഗ്, ആൻഡ് ഈവൻ ഫോർ ഗ്രാമർ, IELTS റിലേറ്റഡ് ഗ്രാമർ പോയിന്റ്സ്. We have separate videos in this mobile app. You can also choose packages. If you want just to have access to writing videos, you can just take the writing package. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് listening മാത്രം മതിയെങ്കിൽ listening package എടുക്കാം. Now this app is also available as a free version. You can download it for free. You'll have access to a set of videos for free and practice materials. പക്ഷെ നിങ്ങൾ ഈ 501 പേയ്മെൻറ്റ് ചെയ്താൽ over 50 hours completely free with practice materials. Weekly updates ആണ് നമ്മൾ ഇതിൽ ചെയ്യാറ്. So you get access to all of these updates for 1 full year. This is a wonderful resource to completely prepare on your own. Now at this point, I think Jibin Joseph has a question. He says, ma'am, how to maintain the task fulfillment criteria while writing task 2, and also how to avoid going off topic while writing task 2. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, Jibin. So Jibin has done some research on IELTS because he talks about going off topic. Essay writing lo oru vella challenge thaneyanu off topic ആയി പോവുക എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ. ബിക്കോസ് പല സ്റ്റുഡൻസിനും മെയിൻ ആയിട്ടുള്ള എസ്സേ ടോപ്പിക് എന്താണെന്ന് പോലും ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാറില്ല. സോ അതാണ് നിങ്ങൾ ആദ്യം കെയർഫുൾ ആയിരിക്കേണ്ടത്. സോ ജിബിൻ, ദിസ് ഈസ് മൈ ആൻസർ ടു യുവർ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. യു നീഡ് ടു എൻഷുർ ദാറ്റ് യു ആർ ഫുള്ളി ഫോക്കസ്ഡ്. സോ എസ്സേ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ 2-3 തവണ 2 to 3 times എന്തായാലും നിങ്ങൾ ടോപ്പ് ടു ബോട്ടം വായിച്ചിരിക്കണം. ഓക്കെ, ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഇപ്പോൾ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഇതാണെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുക. അതായത് some people believe that homework should be given to students at school. Okay, this question is, some people believe that homework should be given to students at school, and the question is, do you agree or disagree? Now if this is the essay question, you need to identify what is actually asked. എന്താണ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ചോദിക്കുന്നത്? They have asked you to whether you agree or disagree. You agree or disagree to what? Is it going to school? Because you see a topic like, some people believe homework should be given to children at school. So many, what they would do is, our entire essay is about the education system. They might say the education system in India is really age old and tested, and a lot of people have come out colorful from the education system. So this is a wonderful system that we have in place. അങ്ങനെ തുടങ്ങി ഫുൾ നമ്മുടെ എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ സിസ്റ്റം, സ്കൂളിങ്ങിനെ കുറിച്ചും അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ എഴുതി വെക്കും. Because they found a topic like school, homework should be given in school. എന്നൊരു ടോപ്പിക് കൊണ്ടുവന്ന തന്നെ ആ ഒരു ടോപ്പിക് ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ സ്കൂൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എഡ്യൂക്കേഷനെ കുറിച്ച് എഴുതും. ഓർ ദേ മൈറ്റ് എൻഡ് അപ്പ് റൈറ്റിംഗ് an entire essay on teachers and how teachers should be more efficient and things like that. ഇതിനാണ് നമ്മൾ ഓഫ് ടോപ്പിക് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ദാറ്റ്സ് വൺ പോസിബിലിറ്റി. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ്, യു ടേക്ക് വാട്ട് ദ മെയിൻ ടോപ്പിക് ഇസ്, യു റിയലൈസ് ഇറ്റ് സംതിങ് റിലേറ്റഡ് ടു എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ, സോ യു റിമെമ്പർ റീഡിംഗ് an essay about education, so you feel okay, Now, IELTS is a test of English. So, whatever you remember of reading about education, you end up writing an essay. So, like Jibin says, you've gone off topic. രണ്ടാമത്തെ പോസിബിലിറ്റി എന്താണ്? The question is, do you agree or disagree? But instead of agreeing or disagreeing, imagine I write a full essay saying there are many benefits and disadvantages of giving homework. In the first paragraph, I am benefits of homework. I write brilliant points about what are the benefits of giving homework to students. Second paragraph, I write what are the drawbacks of giving homework. And then in the end I say homework is good, homework is okay, some feel it should be given, some feel it shouldn't be given. Now this is again going off topic. I have spoken about the advantages and disadvantages of homework. But the question is, some people feel that homework should be given to students at school. This is an opinion. It's the opinion of a group of people. It's their opinion. Now the requirement is, it's called as task response. As candidates, as aspirants, we need to respond to the question. And the question asks you to agree or disagree with this. So you have to either agree saying, yeah, homework is good and talk about why it's good, or you disagree saying homework is not good or beneficial. പക്ഷേ നിങ്ങൾ അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജസും ഡിസഡ്വാൻറ്റേജസും എഴുതി വെക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി ഓഫ് ടോപ്പിക് ആണ്. Okay, so Jibin, that's my answer to your question. It requires reading the question carefully. So you read it and then you identify that an opinion is given and they're asking you to respond to it. You have to agree or disagree with the concept and not list out the benefits and drawbacks. Okay, it comes with a lot of practice, Jibin, and ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു ബുക്ക് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, Ielts Maestro. You can easily find it online. It's available on Amazon, on Flipkart. It's available on our website. You just need to type out Ielts Maestro, and you can have the book delivered to you. And in that book, you have all of these details. Don't worry. You're completely assured if you buy this book of getting a good score. Okay, so നമ്മുടെ അസസ്മെന്റ് കഴിഞ്ഞിരിക്കുകയാണ്. Step 2 is 1 or 2 days you research on the entire format of the IELTS. So you identify what is the requirement for listening, what's the requirement for reading, what is the requirement for writing, and what the requirement for speaking is. And as you're researching, okay, make sure you also download as many authentic official materials as you can find. Now one good source is Cambridge materials. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരുപാട് Cambridge materials online കിട്ടും. അത് നിങ്ങൾ ഡൗൺലോഡ് ചെയ്ത് ഫോൾഡർ ആക്കി വെക്കുക. Now it is not for immediate practice, but it's you're ensuring that you have sufficient materials to practice throughout the day. So through your research, you have an understanding of what the question types are. Now the next 2 days, അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ആദ്യത്തെ ഒരു ദിവസം was self-assessment. Next 2 days we've done research on all the 4 modules, and number 4 on the 4th day, അപ്പോൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് വീക്കിലെ 4ാമത്തെ ദിവസം നമ്മൾ ഓരോ മോഡ്യൂളിനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള സ്ട്രാറ്റജീസ് വർക്ക്ഔട്ട് ചെയ്ത് വെക്കുക. അതായത് യു ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈഡ് ദർ ആർ സർട്ടൻ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ് ഇൻ റീഡിങ്, പക്ഷെ അതെങ്ങനെ സോൾവ് ചെയ്യണം, അതിൻ്റെ സ്ട്രാറ്റജി എന്താണ്, അതിൽ ക്ലാരിറ്റി വരുത്തുക. ഇപ്പോൾ റൈറ്റിംഗ് എസ്സേ ആണ്, സോ വാട്ട് ആർ ദ ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് എസ്സേ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ് പോസിബിൾ, ഒരു ഫോമാറ്റ് കണ്ടുപിടിക്കുക. വാട്ട് ഈസ് ദ ഫോമാറ്റ് ദറ്റ് യു കെൻ യൂസ് ഓൺ ദ ടെസ്റ്റ് ഡേ? Should you begin with an introduction? How many body paragraphs you need to have? What should you write in the conclusion? ഇങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ 4th day നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ക്ലാരിറ്റി ഉണ്ടാവണം by the 4th day. So what you need to do in your listening, what are the questions, what is the strategy, writing എന്തൊക്കെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ് വരും, എന്ത് ഫോമാറ്റാണ് നിങ്ങൾ യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്, അതേപോലെ റീഡിങ്, what is your tactic in solving all the 40 questions. Are you going to solve passage 1, 2, 3 or will you solve passage 2, 3, 1? അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ യു വിൽ സോൾവ് ആൻഡ് ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് വരുന്ന ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് നിങ്ങൾ അവിടെ മിസ് ഔട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അടുത്ത ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ സോൾവ് ചെയ്ത് യു ക്യാൻ കം ബാക്ക്. സോ ഡിസൈഡ് ഓൺ ദ മെത്തേഡ് ദാറ്റ് യു ഗോയിങ് ടു യൂസ്, because from day 5 it's going to be crucial. If you're preparing completely on your own, it means a lot of patience, a lot of practice. Now from day 5 you need to ensure that every day you do one set of listening, reading, writing. Okay, and of course speaking might not be very easy without a support. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്താ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ you can record your speaking sessions. If you don't have a friend who will be able to help you, you can simply record your speaking sessions. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ എന്താ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്, സ്പീക്കിങ്ങിലെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് നമ്മൾ ഡൗൺലോഡ് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ചല്ലോ day 1 and 2. അതിൽ ഒരു ടെസ്റ്റ് എടുത്തിട്ട് read out the question aloud and you give your answer. and record the entire response that you're giving for that 14-15 minutes. And it's not only important to record your speaking session, it's also important to play back. Now you need to listen. നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്പീക്കിംഗ് ആൻസേഴ്സ് റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്തത് ഒന്നും കൂടി പ്ലേ ബാക്ക് ചെയ്യുക, കേൾക്കുക, and then identify where have you gone wrong. I mean, were you able to answer all the questions? Did you sound really natural? Were you able to give good answers? Words repeat ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ? Were you stuck somewhere because of lack of ideas? Okay? ഇതൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ അസസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് is against the assessment criteria. So for speaking, you have a band descriptor which describes band 0 to 9. So make sure you have the band descriptor with you and you identify, where do you stand based on the band. Clearly it will be mentioned, like, if you get a band 7, it will be mentioned that if it is lexical resources, which is one of the assessment factors, it'll say you're using a good set of topic related words, you're flexible in using word forms. When you're listening to the audio that you've just recorded, you get a good idea of how you have performed. And for listening and reading, make sure നിങ്ങൾ solve ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് when you're marking, use a red ink to mark. So mark all the wrong answers, okay, why it has gone wrong, what is the right answer. Make sure you write it down against the wrong answer. ഇനി നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് എന്താണ്? You also need to evaluate every time you do a practice. Now I did a 1-hour reading practice. അതിനുശേഷം I've marked my answers. So out of the 40 questions, I realized I have 29 correct answers. So from 30 onwards, where did my answer go wrong? ഓരോ wrong answer എന്താണ് പറ്റിയെന്ന് I need to find out. So introspection is important. Listening aanengilum, mark out the wrong answers and then find out why you have gone wrong. Maybe you can take 2 days. That is, one day you do a full test, next day you do an evaluation or an introspection. Okay, that's a good idea, because ingane cheydal ella divasavum you are focusing on all the 4 modules. So you have a continuous regular practice, which is very important. It's actually the prime factor for getting a good score. Because some of the students, some aspirants എന്താ ചെയ്യുക, അവർ ആദ്യത്തെ ഒരാഴ്ച ലിസ്ണിംഗ് ചെയ്യും, അടുത്ത ഒരാഴ്ച റീഡിങ് ചെയ്യും, പിന്നീട് ഒരാഴ്ച റൈറ്റിംഗ് ചെയ്യും, പിന്നെ സ്പീക്കിംഗ് ചെയ്യും. ബട്ട് ദാറ്റ് മൈറ്റ് നോട്ട് ഹെൽപ്പ് ബിക്കോസ് you've finished with the speaking module, and when you go for the test, you don't remember what you did on the first week. So it's ideal if you can, practice all the 4 modules every day and introspect on all the 4 modules. So practicing, next day introspection. Practicing, next day introspection. So you're doing an alternate practice session plus introspection. So like I said, if you don't have 3 hours at a stretch, it's quite simple. രാവിലെ കിട്ടുന്ന 1 മണിക്കൂർ നിങ്ങൾ റീഡിങ് ചെയ്യുക, ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു 1/2 മണിക്കൂർ കിട്ടുകയാണെങ്കിൽ you can do a listening practice. Evening you come back and take 1 hour and do a writing and a 15-minute speaking recording. So in a day you can easily split up the practice if you cannot get 3 hours at a stretch. So this is the next step that you need to follow. Now at this point, if you have any questions regarding preparing for IELTS, self-preparation, do jot down the points. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയേണ്ട സംശയങ്ങൾ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ്, ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസോ സംശയങ്ങളോ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇതിൽ കമൻറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് അയക്കാം, and I'll be able to respond. Okay, so I think Srija is getting ready for her 16th July exam. So Srija, how are you preparing for the test? Is it self-preparation? At what stage are you? ചെയ്ത് നോക്കിയോ? Have you done practice tests? Is there a particular module that you find difficult? That's important to identify. നിങ്ങൾ ഈ പ്രാക്ടീസ് ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ, when you solve one practice test every day and you do the introspection the next day, it's important that you identify which is the module that you're good at, which is the module that you're not good at. Because accordingly you can maybe give extra practice. Let's say ആദ്യത്തെ ഒരാഴ്ച പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ I find that I can get 35 and above every time I solve a listening and reading, which means I'm more confident in those modules. But writing, I'm unable to meet the time requirement. Maybe instead of practicing a listening and reading every day, I can do 2 writing instead. Try practicing a writing, try introspecting, and it'll be good if you can get hold of a friend, somebody who will be able to assist you in checking your writing. And one good software that will help you is Grammarly.com. Use this software നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതിയ essay, നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതി വെച്ച essay, you just need to type it out onto grammarly.com and it will give you corrections. It's a software that will tell you what is wrong where. So to an extent, grammar mistakes, construction errors can be corrected on your own using grammarly.com. And that is something I also suggest students to use. My students to use, because you don't always have to wait for a trainer's support or somebody to correct it for you. You can also try, finding out your own mistakes, and grammarly.com is an excellent software. At this point, let me also tell you that I'm not an ambassador for grammarly.com, but I just find that it's really helpful for both the trainers and aspirants alike. So I would definitely recommend that you try using this particular software for evaluating your writing. Okay. So, yes, any questions that you have? I think Anu Rajesh has given a thumbs up. So probably, Anu Rajesh has liked. So she's given me a thumbs up. That's interesting. So I have a lot of people watching me, like Betsy Dippin is watching, Saurav Malla is watching, Dilkush Katkar is watching, and Srinivas Yadav is watching, Kostin is watching, Sudesh is watching. So a lot of people actually watching us live, but probably, Helma is watching, Wade William is watching, Amarnath Verma is watching. Nice. Okay. So Shibi Shaiju has answered writing, reading, listening. Yes, Shibi, that's the new format or the new change or the rectified form of the IELTS test. Lola Saad has given me a thumbs up, which means, again, Lola has liked something that I've added in our live session here. Okay, any questions coming up regarding your preparation, something that you would like to know? Oh, I can see a Salman Khan watching us live. I hope it's not the film star. I'm just curious to know if Salman is preparing for his IELTS as well. Hi Salman, if you're watching, please send us a hi. Let us know where you're watching this from. Okay, so I'll just wait for a couple of minutes before any comments come up. Probably, it's quite clear what you need to do completely on your own, which is why a lot of questions do not pop up, which is again good. But if at all you do have questions, please feel free to pop it up in the comment section here so that I can answer them as I do the session live. Okay, I can really listen now. It's important. See, for speaking practice, you can get any topic. Now, IELTS speaking is quite general. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാത്തിലും പ്രിപ്പയർഡ് ആയിരിക്കണം. അതായത് ഞാൻ ഈ ലൈവ് സെഷൻ്റെ തുടക്കത്തിൽ ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ചോദിച്ചിരുന്നു. How is the weather like today? How's the climate outside? Now, how will you answer that question? That's practicing for the IELTS speaking. So I had responses saying it is drizzling, it's raining heavily. How can you answer in 2 to 3 sentences? Try. It's interesting. Any question that you get, try and formulate answers. എങ്ങനെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആ ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനിൽ ആൻസർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുക? What is the weather like today? Or what do you have for breakfast every day? So how will you answer that? What do you have for breakfast every day? അല്ലെങ്കിൽ do you dream at night? I'm sure everybody does, but not all of us remember. So if you ask me that question, do you dream at night? I would say yes, I definitely dream a lot at night, but most of the time I forget what I was dreaming by the time I wake up. But there are situations where I wake up in between a dream and then I have this vague memory of what I was watching or what I was seeing in my dream. And sometimes it's interesting things, sometimes it's quite scary, but yeah, I mostly dream at night. So this is a good response. I've answered in 2 to 3 sentences. So the question is very simple. നിങ്ങൾ രാത്രി സ്വപ്നം കാണാറുണ്ടോ? Do you dream at night? അതെങ്ങനെ നിങ്ങൾ എക്സ്പാൻഡ് ചെയ്യും? This is the challenging factor when it comes to IELTS speaking. Questions are simple, but because it's simple, it's even more challenging. എങ്ങനെ ആൻസർ ചെയ്യും? അല്ലേ? കാരണം imagine a question like this. Do you watch the sky? അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ചിന്തിക്കും, ഞാൻ നോക്കാറുണ്ടോ? Do I actually watch the sky? So Sharu Abraham has added, do have nightmares too. Okay, That's interesting, Sharu. So you can speak about nightmares and how you wake up screaming in the middle of night and how you've woken up your neighborhood. You can add stuff like that. I mean, see, IELTS speaking is basically not a test of integrity. So it's about testing your language. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എത്രത്തോളം നല്ലോണം ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ സംസാരിക്കാൻ പറ്റും അത് മാത്രമാണ് IELTS സ്പീക്കിംഗ് ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ ഷാരൂഖ് ആഡ് ചെയ്ത പോലെ എനിക്കിങ്ങനെ പല കാര്യങ്ങൾ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് പറയാം. നൈറ്റ്മെയർസ് ഉണ്ടാവും, ഞാൻ ഉറക്കത്തിൽ എന്താണ് സ്വപ്നം കണ്ട് സ്ക്രീം ചെയ്തിട്ട് എൻ്റെ നെയ്ബേഴ്സ് കൂടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മൈ പേരൻസ് ഹാവ് ബീൻ സ്കെയർഡ്, അങ്ങനെ എന്ത് വേണമെങ്കിലും പറയാം. ബിക്കോസ് ഇറ്റ്സ് ബേസിക്കലി എ ടെസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് മൈ language ability, how good I am with using English. So the other question that I've said, how often do you watch the sky? And I'm like, do I actually watch the sky? But if the question is asked, you need to respond to it, right? So how often do you guys watch the sky? I'm like quite eager to know, curious to know what your responses would be. How often do you watch the sky? Can you share your responses as comments? The question is, how often do you watch the sky? At this point, if you're like, okay, sky, I actually don't watch it, but maybe when it is raining I look out, or maybe if I know that there is some kind of celestial movement happening, once in a lifetime thing that I'm going to see in the sky, then I watch the sky. Maybe. But how many of you watching me live, okay, how many of you actually watch the sky? How often do you watch the sky? So think, how would you respond to it? Okay, I have a very, very active Sharu here with me on live, and he says, only to check whether it's going to rain. That's interesting. But Sharu, my question to you is, how would you answer this in a couple of sentences? Remember, this is a sample question on from part 1 of speaking. So you need to be able to speak in 2 to 3 sentences. Sharu says, only to check whether it's going to rain. Now, A.J. Jacob says, I watch the sky during night when it's clear. Okay, that's a sentence. Can you add 2 to 3 sentences? Santosh Babu says, not normally, but when I'm at a beach, I'm forced to look at the sky. Ah, that's interesting, Santosh. So when I'm at a beach, I'm forced to look at the sky. Ah, nice. So then you can add, eppadakkiyana beach il pora, how often do you go to a beach, and how many times so far have you actually watched the sky? Can I have more responses, please? I've had a couple of interesting ones. How often do you watch the sky? I would say it's been quite long that I've actually watched the sky. I reach home quite late from work, and I don't get a lot of time to laze around. So once I reach home, I have my dinner, I have a good shower, and I sleep. So I'm trying to convey I have no time at all. Okay, so that's also answering a question. See, the question is, do you watch the sky? I'm saying no, I cannot because I'm busy, and I'm giving the reason for what causes this kind of a cramped schedule for me. Okay, so I think I have a response on YouTube. Okay, so J4VFX. Okay, so J4VFX has added saying, I quite watch sky after pouring outside. I look colorful and resplendent. I'm not sure if I'm reading that word right. Okay, that's a good attempt. Now, okay, yeah, but a good attempt, I would say. Okay, when it is raining, that's interesting. Kiran Chandran says, I watch the sky in the night because it's my favorite hobby. Wow. So do you actually use some kind of instrument to watch the sky, or do you just probably laze around on the terrace? Maybe if you have a telescope or something, Kiran. Do you have a telescope? Maybe you're watching the stars, maybe the pole star, or the constellations. Okay, so that was a sample question for part 1 of speaking, like, do you watch the sky? It's not very often, that we have questions like these. Maybe another question that you might have Could be like, let's say, what was the last meal you cooked? What was the last meal you cooked? So here I have Mary Benoy sharing a response, and she says, not very often, as we live in a flat and it's difficult to see the sky from a flat. I'm quite impressed, Mary Benoy. That's a good contribution. Not very often, as we live in a flat and it's difficult to see the sky from a flat. My next question is, what was the last meal you cooked? So take every opportunity that you get to prepare for the test. Now here I'm asking you some questions on Ielts speaking. But you opportunity use it, responses, it's a kind of self-preparation as well. Sharo has given me a response saying, looking at sky is probably quite natural for anyone, but not something that I do intentionally. That's a very philosophical answer. I don't intentionally watch the sky, but that is something that we do. That's right. I mean, if we're leaving office in the evening and going home, probably we look at the sky. Intentionally Allah, pakshe maybe we are riding or driving to our home, and then we end up looking at the sky at some point or the other, which is also true. So what was the last meal you cooked? Well, I actually don't remember cooking any kind of meal last, but yeah. Surya Dawn has shared a response saying, see sky in ever time in many inspiration clouds and stars in my life. Surya Dawn, I think you're a poet. Santosh Babu says, usually weekends if I'm free I go to beach. The brightening stars or blinking objects which are seem to look at me, and so I'm forced to look back. Nice. But definitely guys, check out Surya Dawn's response. I would say he's a poet. So what was the last meal you cooked? How would you answer that? So I think I have a response on YouTube. Let me just check out. Okay, again, J4VFX. I'm sorry, that's the name that we can see from your YouTube account. It says, I pressure that the last day I prepared egg sandwich. It was quite delectable and delicious. Luscious. Delicious. Okay. Egg sandwich. Nice. Okay. I think the last, I wouldn't say meal, but I would say the last food item that I tried cooking, okay, was a bread pizza. Okay, so bread pizza is something that I tried cooking last. It was something that my daughter wanted. So she's just 4.5 years old, and she's like, she wanted a pizza, and I didn't have all the ingredients with me. So I knew I had a packet of bread. So I just used a slice of bread and had some vegetables like tomatoes and onions and cheese over it. And I didn't have an oven, but I did place it on a pan, a hot pan, and I baked it using a pan. So yeah, a bread pizza was the last item I cooked. Well, so Priya Das responds saying, today afternoon I prepared chicken biryani, which is my favorite meal. Oh wow. Okay, so today afternoon, so was it a holiday, Priya? I mean, are you at home enjoying your cooking? I'm sure your family members are blessed to have had a biryani on a Wednesday, because normally biryani is a meal that most of us cook in the weekend when all of us have time and we can get together. But I'm sure Priya Das, your family is like quite lucky that they could taste biryani today. That's an excellent response as well. Okay, so see, this is what you need to do. You need to try and pick out random questions and see how you can respond to it. Idokke self-preparation oru bhagam thaneyanu. So Pramila Rai says, hello. Pramila, I think you've joined in a little late, but you can watch all the last 1 hour's live later. So hi Pramila. So use all the opportunity that you have. And definitely another beautiful tip that I'd like to give you for self-preparation on Ielts is watch our live session every week. Wednesday live sessions, be active. നിങ്ങൾ പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വരുന്ന സംശയങ്ങളൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആയിട്ട് ഈ ലൈവ് സെഷൻസിൽ എന്തായാലും ഇടുക. അങ്ങനെ ഇടുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ്, യു ഗെറ്റ് എൻ ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി ടു ക്ലാരിഫൈ എനി ക്വയറീസ് ദാറ്റ് യു ഹാവ്. സോ ഞാൻ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ വട്ട് എവർ ഐവ് ഷെയർഡ് ദ 3 to 4 weeks plan that I've shared with you for self-preparing, try using it. I mean, start today if you're taking an exam date for July end or even August. now is the time. And then join all our live sessions and put in all the questions that you have. I will answer all of it, don't worry. So it's completely free. J4 VFX says, I am an IELTS aspirant, high score in academic, but in exam get low band in writing. Totally disappointed and stuck. So J4 VFX, don't worry. I mean, like I said, prepare for your IELTS and also ensure that you join us in our session. Ningalkulla ella questions in English session le chodikka, ningal practice cheyumbappo, maybe it could be a reading question or a listening question or a writing answer. Just ask me anything. I'll answer anything related to IELTS. Gautam Krishna on YouTube says, the last meal I tried to cook was beef curry and it went pretty good and it was good. My mom appreciated me for trying. Wow, Gautam, that's very sweet. You did try cooking beef curry on your own, and if you've gotten appreciation from your mom, I would say that's the best gift. Anusha AV says, it's my routine to look at the sky because I'm staying near to airport, and when plane takes off, I will be dreaming for the first day of flying in plane. I'm an IELTS aspirant. Oh, nice, Anusha. I hope you soon realize your dream. And itrem kalam Anusha flight പോകുന്നത് മാത്രമാണ് കണ്ടത്. And I just hope that soon you will be in one of those flights and flying off to your dream destination. Anusha, all the best for your IELTS preparation. Okay, great. So like I said, please ensure that you use this platform, which is completely free for your self-preparation of IELTS. നിങ്ങൾക്കുള്ള എല്ലാ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസും സംശയങ്ങളൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത് ചോദിക്കാം. But if you have to have these questions, you need to first get into the act of practicing for the test. So make sure you practice a listening, a reading, a writing, and a speaking every day. Evaluate your response. That's equally important. Just practicing the test alone will not help you, but evaluating will help you. ഇനി സ്പീക്കിങ്ങിന് വേണ്ടി നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ എല്ലാ ദിവസവും നിങ്ങൾ സ്പീക്കിംഗ് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന റെസ്പോൺസസ് റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്യുക, ഓഡിയോ റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്യുക, ആൻഡ് ദെൻ ലിസൺ ടു ഇറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈ വെയർ യു ഗോൺ റോങ്, വാട്ട് ആർ യുവർ സ്ട്രെങ്സ്, വീക്ക്നെസ്സസ് വെൻ ഇറ്റ് കംസ് ടു സ്പീക്കിംഗ്. If possible, you can send it out to a friend for his or her feedback. പറ്റുവാണെങ്കിൽ ഫോൺ കോൾ ചെയ്യുക, call a friend of yours who can speak in English, who can ask you some questions. Share the IELTS questions with your friend. Let that friend ask you the questions. You give the response over the phone call. And these are ways that will really help you when it comes to self-preparing for the test. ഇനി ഒന്നുമില്ല, റെക്കോർഡിങ്ങും ഇല്ല, ഫ്രണ്ടും ഇല്ല, ഫോൺ കോളും ഇല്ല, അങ്ങനെയാണ് അവസ്ഥയെങ്കിൽ സ്പീക്കിംഗ് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യാൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ ബെസ്റ്റ് ഫ്രണ്ട് ഓഫ് കോഴ്സ് ഇസ് എ മിറർ. ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് എ മിറർ, ആസ്ക് ദ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ യുവർ സെൽഫ്, ആൻസർ ഇറ്റ് യുവർ സെൽഫ് ആൻഡ് സീ ഹൗ വെൽ യു ആർ ഏബിൾ ടു റെസ്പോണ്ട് ടു ഇറ്റ്. But do not forget, ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ tips that you need to have 3 to 4 weeks ahead of you to ensure that you can practice completely on your own. And don't forget to even download our MedCity IELTS app. It's a complete solution to your IELTS needs, and you can learn IELTS on your own with this app. Other than a trainer support, everything else is available in the app. That is, you have video lessons, you have practice materials, and the biggest advantage is it's completely flexible. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ട modules മാത്രം എടുത്താൽ മതി. If you want just listening, you have the opportunity to purchase only the listening module, or you want to just practice on writing, you can just purchase the writing module. You also have the all skills pack, which will give you access to all the 4 skills. UKVI IELTS ആണെങ്കിലും നമ്മുടെ ആപ്പിലുണ്ട്, or even general training IELTS. So definitely this is I would say the most fashionable thing to do if you're preparing on your own. MedCity IELTS app. Well, with this we are almost towards the end of our live session for today. It's been really wonderful, superb responses that I've got from all of you who've been live with me on YouTube and Facebook. നല്ല ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് ആയ സെഷൻ ആയിരുന്നു. നിങ്ങൾ സ്പീക്കിങ്ങിൽ കുറച്ച് റെസ്പോൺസസ് തന്നു. ഐ ഹോപ്പ് the 3 to 4 weeks plan is clear as to how you can prepare completely on your own. I've also shared some resources that will be helpful, so you can use these resources to ensure that you practice the IELTS, prepare on your own. Good luck with your exams, and Shrija and Santosh, please do let me know what your results are once it's out. All the very best for your preparation. Thank you all for joining us live today.